So are you going to build the next global social network? Probably not. I think you're too late. Social for the sake of social, I think, is over. So I think the new model that you really need to think about is the idea that the future of social is about relevance. And you hear this future of social is local. I think that's true. Number two, you need to think about monetization on day one. And my whole perspective here is building a social network for the sake of making money. You can have other reasons for doing it. And then number three, is your business model is ad revenue? I think again. And the reason I say that is you have to build immense scale in order to generate a business that is going to be driven by an ad revenue model. I think there are other more interesting ways to tackle this. So what's the answer? First, I think if you build a social network to disintermediate a traditional industry, there's a lot of opportunity out there. And I think there's an awful lot of opportunity in Hong Kong in particular. And I'll talk a little bit about what we did. But if you look at some of these businesses with social peer-to-peer, these are classic examples of startups that have disintermediated the space. So 99 Designs, the traditional agency space. Zopa is a peer-to-peer social network where you can make direct loans to other people in your network, avoiding the bank and getting hopefully a better interest rate. Get around disintermediating the rental car space, so there's sort of a B&B for cars. AngelList, completely shattering the conventional venture capital model, specifically in the U.S., but it's growing. And then, what Zocdoc is doing for healthcare and insurance is really interesting. So these are all socially driven businesses that are completely disrupting an industry. And I think this is a pretty fascinating slide, and I think it should give all of you hope, especially those that are in Hong Kong. The social media penetration in Hong Kong is 54%, the highest in any major market in Asia, is here in Hong Kong. So we can call those individuals, we can call them consumers. The reality in Hong Kong is businesses are traditional, and they just haven't got, they're just not there. So you see 20% penetration for businesses. And I think that divide between the two, that gap between the two, creates incredible opportunities in Hong Kong. And that was one of the biggest factors for our decision to build our business. So our idea was, in essence, to build a social network and trading portal for investors. In essence, to disintermediate the brokerage industry. So disintermediate is a fancy way of saying cutting out the middleman. So what we're saying is the old conventional way of getting investing ideas from a broker, forget it. People have good ideas, individuals have good ideas. Let's connect them, let's get them together in a private network and allow them to share those ideas. In terms of our business model, it's really simple. We give the social network and all the content away for free. We're putting people together, and we earn a commission every time a customer places a trade. So it's a very, very simple business model. It's social that is attached to a traditional business model, and a clear path to making money, but a very, very social business. And again, it's about relevance. So we picked an industry, we picked a segment in the market that is inherently social and built a network around it. So just a quick word on the technology. First, we built our social network on a platform called Apache Cassandra. Cassandra is a open platform that Facebook uses, Twitter uses, Dig, Netflix, a number of other companies. So we built on that platform to ensure that our social network was intuitive to the Hong Kong investor. So if you're on Facebook, like so many people in Hong Kong are, it will be very intuitive. It also gave us a lot of flexibility. The second point is we hosted our network on Amazon. So we are probably, I think we're the only financial services company in Hong Kong, and maybe, I haven't heard too many in Asia that are deployed in the cloud. And that obviously gives us scalability to grow and keeps our operating costs lean as we're a startup. The third point is it's a 360-degree social network, and we have an open philosophy. So in essence, we have the private social network for investors, but you also have the ability to publish to any of your external networks as well. So be it Twitter, Facebook, Weibo, whatever it is, you can publish externally as well. And it's entirely open, so you can take our apps to other places on the web with you. We built an API, so we're really going to foster development on our platform, so people that are interested in developing financial technology can do so. They can build on our platform and really see that as our future. And then finally, everything we did was built to scale. I think the last thing I'd touch on with respect to the network is we built everything in HTML5. So that was an important move for us. When it comes to investing, mobile is obviously very important. We had a decision to make. Our core desktop platform is HTML5. We want to carry that across all of our mobile devices as well, and we made the decision to do that. So we won't be building native apps, although sort of the iPhone penetration rate is so high here. We can't ignore Android. There's a number of other platforms coming on the market. So we've just decided to go with HTML5 across the board. So we're managing a single platform for our trading and our social network. This is the part that I'm most excited about talking about. For those people that are thinking about starting a business, I think in this day and age you don't have a whole lot to lose. If you have an idea, and I'm sure most of you have an idea, it's something that you can run with. Whether you do it on weekends, whether you do it in evenings, whether you're not happy with your job, I definitely encourage everyone to try. Having sort of gone through this experience myself after 15 years in industry, it's been the most fulfilling year and a half of my life, and I don't see it stopping. I don't think I can ever go back to working for another company. But an important consideration is how do you build a business? So you've got your idea, you've thought about your business model, how do you raise money? And you really have two options. You can bootstrap it, which essentially means you use your own funds to get traction and get your business going. And a lot of people do that. But in my own opinion, I think there is the risk of bootstrapping yourself to death. At some point, you've got to invest money to make money. It takes money to make money, and the likelihood that your personal funds are going to carry you to full success, don't underestimate the difficulty there. And then you have to decide how much money do you want to raise. So it's going to take some financial planning. You build a financial model. You figure out my business model. How am I going to make money? How am I going to make profitability? And you need to forecast it. And based on that forecast, it'll give you a sense of how much money you need to raise. And give yourself a cushion. Give yourself 20-30% at least, because things are not going to go the way you plan, believe me. And then the third thing is how much do you personally invest in order to maximize your equity later. So when we began building this social brokerage, I personally invested virtually all of my savings in building this business. But what I invested in was a front end, so a website, really good design, and a working prototype of the product, knowing that the quality of what I built would have a direct correlation with how much money I was able to raise from investors. So it was a long haul. We actually raised $8 million. We closed 8 million US, and we closed about 6 months ago. And the reason we raised so much money was, one, we didn't want to go back to investors. We didn't have a good view of which way the market would go. And being in financial services, thank God we did, because I think it would be very difficult to raise money now. So that was a big plus. And then number two is it's a very capital-intensive business. Not the technology per se, but there's regulatory requirements. We're dealing with banks and so on. So you do have to raise a lot. Raising money is hard. The first thing I have to say is I've been in Hong Kong for 4 years. Hong Kong has the shittiest startup ecosystem I've ever experienced. I've lived in Silicon Valley, I've lived in London, Dubai, Mumbai, I've lived a lot of places, Singapore. Hong Kong's terrible. And it's not from a shortage of good ideas or startups. I think there's 3 elements of a good ecosystem. One is the startups, but 2 is the investors, which are few and far between because all the venture capital in Greater China is focused on mainland China, not in Hong Kong. And that's fair. And the second thing is services. So business services, legal services, those things that are geared for startups and the startup budget don't exist here. So without those 2 things, it is hard. As I said, don't bootstrap yourself to death. Don't be a hero. I think there's no harm in raising money. I think put as much focus on design as you do engineering. It's my biggest tip for anyone thinking about starting a business. You can build 101 features. The reality is when you get in front of an investor, they don't care. What you tell them, they'll take your word for it. If you say your product will do X, Y, Z, they'll take your word for it. So don't engineer the back end. Have confidence you can do it. Figure out how much money you need to raise to do it. But remember, your investors are looking at your business idea through the lens of a consumer. So you need to just keep that in mind. So design. Think about your user experience. Let them see it through that lens. The other point, build a prototype. If you can afford to take it that far, build a prototype and test the waters. Get users, testimonial from users, even if it's not a final product, is extremely valuable in raising money. Venture capital firms won't answer your emails. Don't be sensitive about it. It's just reality. I've told this story before. I crafted 150, really well sort of thought out emails to 150 venture capitalists that I were sure would love this product because it was sort of right up their alley. I went 0 for 150, 0 hit rate, which is really, really, really hard to do. But I managed to do it. So what you have to do is you've got to get introduced. Get introduced to VCs. VCs ultimately probably won't be the people that invest in your business in Hong Kong, but there is a private investor community in Hong Kong. It's difficult to find, but family offices, private investors, angel investors, they do exist, and they are interested in investing in technology. And don't give up. I mean, it is, as I said, it is extremely hard, but where there's a will, there's a way, and I think if you want it bad enough, you'll raise the money. And finally, my advice for entrepreneurs, be brave and face the risks in front of you. It is not easy, and there's a lot of risk. And one thing I learned about Hong Kong is, and especially when recruiting the team, is people in Hong Kong are typically pretty risk averse. I think people's heart, in their heart they want to do a startup, but maybe in their mind, their mind prevails. So it's not easy. You got to take the plunge. Acknowledge your weaknesses. Be self-aware. We all have them. Just accept what those are, acknowledge them, and build a great team around you. So if you're unaware of yourself, you don't have great self-awareness, you're probably going to fail. You need to know where you're weak and build people or build a team around you that covers those weaknesses and gives you strength. Be flexible. Your idea and your business plan will probably change 3 or 4 times by the point of idea to the point of execution, and that's fine. It's natural. I think the next point is probably the most important. Remember, customers give you revenues, not products. Listen to your customers. If they don't use it, don't be bullheaded. Change, adapt, listen to them. Ultimately, that's what's going to determine your success. And enjoy the journey. As I said, I've had a ton of fun the past 18 months. It's been the hardest of my life, but also the most rewarding. So I'll leave you with this quote. I won't read it, but I really like it, and I think it rings true to anyone that wants to build a business. I think a social network, again, whether you're investing in it, you're investing your own money, and you want to build something big, then go big. Think about it. There's plenty of tools out there that will let you do something and launch something over a weekend. There are so many free tools. You've got Google Analytics on the back end to see what people are doing. Use WordPress or Tumblr on the front end. Integrate it with existing social networks. The most important thing is your idea, and let it grow and just get behind it. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mikaal. Much appreciated.